Well, it's Friday, you're at your desk cranking out, working on another estimate for a client who's probably going to go with the cheapest contractor. You know, you've been working 70, 80-hour weeks, leads keep coming in, but the profits are razor thin. Sound familiar? Well, you are not alone. 90% of contractors are barely breaking even, while the top 5% are booked 6 to 12 months out with, you guessed it, 20 to 25% profit margins. What's their secret? It's not better tools, it's not lower prices, it's how they sell. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. All right, so in today's video, we are going to go over how to close the sale without being salesy, because we don't want to be salesmen, but at the end of the day, we kind of are. So we're going to go over these 7 things, and you are going to be on your way to becoming an expert salesman. So we're going to talk briefly about struggling versus successful contractors, why traditional sales fails most of the time, why consultative selling is the game changer that you need to learn. My favorite part, the 10-step trusted advisor system. And then we're going to go briefly over how to handle objections like a pro. We'll put some other resources down in this video where I go a lot more in depth about objections, the ROI, return on investment of professional selling, and then finally how to go from GC to trusted advisor, which is pretty much what we're going to be talking about the entire video. What is the difference between a successful and a struggling contractor? The difference isn't skill, it's just your approach. Top contractors don't sell, they guide. They've mastered the art of closing without being salesy by building trust through a professional system. And how do you accomplish this? First, you're right here, you're watching this video, you're educating yourself. And second, by having process, by practicing, by having a system. So now let's talk about why traditional sales fails. So traditional sales, what does that mean? So think of the difference like a pushy salesman, which leads to unhappy customers or clients that probably aren't going to become clients, versus a calm contractor, which leads to more business and happy customers. Traditional sales tactics are things like pressure, fast closes, endless follow-ups. These things don't work in construction because construction sales takes months, sometimes years. We're talking about big ticket items, sometimes multiple decision makers, changing budgets, changing their minds on materials, these types of things, not to mention huge emotional stakes. So if you are push, they are going to pull away. So instead of pushing, we want to guide. So they lean into it, they start to trust you. Now, studies show that simply asking one genuine closing question increases your closing success by more than 30%. The key here is to be confident, not pushy, helpful, not desperate. Which brings me to consultative selling, which the word describes itself. So think about the difference like this. I'm a terrible artist, but I like to have visuals. The contractor over here says, here's what I do and what it costs, versus the consultative approach, which is tell me your vision, your challenges, your fears, which puts the customer first, which is all about that. You ask the question and then listen. When the customer speaks, the majority of the time, it is almost a guaranteed close, because then all you have to do to close the sale is to just repeat what they say. So consultative selling essentially flips the script. It's not about your services, you're the best. It's about their problems, their fears, what they're thinking about. So you stop competing on price and start competing on value. You stop hoping and crossing your fingers for the job, and you start earning the preference and building that trust. So you go essentially from contractor, just normal contractor that's talking about here's what I can build or here's what I can remodel, to a trusted advisor. And those are going to lead to happy customers and a lot more business and referrals. That is your foundation right there, simply put, for higher profits, better clients, and overall a lot less stress. Which brings me to the 10-step process for becoming the trusted advisor to closing more deals. These are what top performing contractors use to consistently close high margin projects. So we're not going to gatekeep. I'm going to leave it all here on the whiteboard. Probably somebody will put it down in the comments. But overall, this is not about slick sales tactics. It's about structure, communication, and positioning. So step number 1 is master the initial contact. You don't want to sell right away on the first call. Your goal is to qualify, to ask permission to learn more about their project. With this first contact, your goal isn't to book a job, it's to see if they're a right fit. This shows them that you're not desperate, you're here to advise them, to talk about their project, not to close them right away. Step number 2 is to more qualification. Use a qualifying questionnaire. Your time is worth $150+ an hour, or at least it should be. So don't waste it on tire kickers, energy, time vampires. A simple form filters real clients from these looky-loos, these browsers. We all have those types of people, and sometimes when you're first starting out, you need to go do all of these things because you need to work on this process. But after you have, a lot more experience and you feel comfortable saying no to people, then you definitely will start using more qualification type questionnaires. The next step, this one is a game changer. You want to send a wow info pack. So this is like a folder with your process. It could be like our team, a little about your business, your guarantee, and then of course, testimonials before and afters. Now, if you don't have a folder, you don't want to invest that money yet, you need to have something like this on your website. It's really important to have what your process is for doing bathroom remodels, home remodels. So it shows people that you're an expert and that you know what you're doing. And so they have an idea as to what to expect. Ideally, you want to do this before the meeting. Send a professional info pack or a link to your website that shows who you are, what your values are as a company, as a solo general contractor, how you work, your process, all that type of stuff. So by the time you meet, they're already 70 to 80% sold. These are already warm clients that trust you and that believe you are the expert. Number 4, we want to do a warm-up call. This essentially confirm all the decision makers will be there, they're on board, they're ready to pull the trigger, the budget is real, the budget is somewhat close, and the timeline is realistic, it makes sense. This is just like a little quick 15-minute call that can save you hours of wasted site visits and time on the road. Number 5, professional site visit. This is where we get inside the house. You want to show up as a consultant, not a bidder, not an estimator, an advisor. You're guiding them and you're consulting them on their project. It's important during this time to ask meaningful questions about their vision, about their concerns, any previous contractors that they've come across that they didn't like. People will literally tell you what a contractor did that they didn't like, that they didn't trust, they didn't communicate, they didn't provide project updates. Just ask the questions, listen, and the job will essentially close itself. So that is what you're doing during the professional site visit. So at this point, you already have differentiated yourself. You've sent the wow packets, you've asked the amazing questions, they're on board. And so now is when we're going to just start elevating your game to the next level. You want to facilitate a strategy session. This again is a big differentiator from what most contractors do. Sit down, talk about the goals, about the budgets, expectations, answer any questions, address any concerns, listen more, and especially these big projects, you're going to be talking to other contractors. Unless it's like really close referral, you need to know your stuff, you need to show that you care and that you know what you're talking about. Why are you doing this? Because you want to be a partner in the project, not just another contractor. Again, this is more about advising, building that trust. So after you've done all of this, it's time to present that professional proposal. If you can't, don't email your bid and just hope for the best, right? You don't want to ever try to hope. You want to have a system, a process where you are almost guaranteeing the business. Ideally, especially the big projects, present it in person. Walk through the value behind every single line item. Go through your process again. Send another email if it's a big project and it's taking you a little bit and you're not using Handoff for your estimates that can provide even big project estimates in a few minutes. You need to be able to show them exactly what the process is, address any line items, and obviously they're going to have questions, especially on those bigger projects. And then step number 8, you want to keep that momentum going. Follow up with a purpose, not pressure. If you have to schedule another meeting, if it's these big projects, then always end with some type of open loop to where you're going to send them something, address something that y'all talked about, the scope of work has changed, that type of thing. So you don't want to just present the bid, email or in person, and then just completely forget about it. Remember, fortune is in the follow-up, so you need to keep following up. At this point, you could probably leave, not watch the rest of the video, and still close a ton of jobs. But we just have 2 more, so you might as well keep watching. Number 9, Close with confidence. So you've built a trust throughout this thing, every step. Now closing should happen and will happen naturally because you've already done all of the pre-selling. Keep your process professional and your clients will say yes with confidence. And finally, number 10, nurture those long-term relationships. After the build, after the remodel, follow up, ask for feedback, testimonials, reviews, referrals. One satisfied client can lead to 5 more, and then those 5 can lead to another 10, and you get the picture. So that right there, my friends, is a 10-step trusted advisor system that will help you win the bid every single time. Next, let's go over a few objections. So even us trusted advisors sometimes will, on a rare occasion, get an objection. We're gonna hear the objections. That's totally normal. In fact, it'd kind of be odd if you never got any objections or that the client didn't ask any. Just like asking too many questions is a red flag. To me, no objections would be another red flag. But every objection is just a request for more clarity, more information. So every time I get an objection, I just think about it as I didn't provide enough information. So let's just go over a few. There's a long list of them. We have a lot of resources in video and in our blog that we'll link in this video that goes over how to handle lots of other objections like a professional. So things like, your process seems complicated. You could say something like, each step protects your time, your money, and your sanity. Essentially, you have a process and a system for everything, so it's not wasting any more of time and money. And money is a big one because people think they're gonna just spend a bunch of money, things are gonna come up, the contractor's gonna overcharge them. Or how about other contractors don't do this, or another contractor I spoke to does this. You say, exactly. That's why we finish on time and on budget. Check out this testimonial from somebody that also did a master bathroom remodel. So boom, you agree with them, then you provide a little piece of information, and then better yet, you show them social proof. And how about this one that I love? Can you just give me a ballpark from the phone? Sure, you know what? Yeah, I could give you a ballpark. I'm experienced enough to be able to give you this, but it wouldn't be fair to you. I want to do it right. Let's set up a site visit. How about Tuesday or Thursday at 5 p.m., something like that. Give them times to meet. Don't just leave it closed. And then one of my favorites is, can you do it for less? I learned this technique from Alex Hormozy. When somebody says, can you do it for less? You say, can you do it for more? And then everyone laughs and they sign on the dotted line. So remember, objections, just think about it like you didn't provide enough information. Continue to ask questions. They'll forget about their objections and you'll win that job. So this is professional selling, and professional selling leads to more ROI, more return on your investment. So the old way of doing things, the traditional way, leads to 10 to 15% profit, or worse, sometimes losing money. The new way, the consultative advisor approach, will lead to 20, 25, and even more, 30% profit. When you run your sales like a system, everything improves and your margins increase. Profit margins climb from 10% to 25%. Close rates double, projects get bigger. You stop hoping and praying and chasing jobs and start attracting ideal clients. All right, so that was a lot of information. So let's break it down into getting this process dialed in just 6 weeks. So week 1 and 2, you want to work on your scripts and your questionnaires. So use ChatGPT to help you out with this. There's plenty of contractor sales scripts out there. Make it tailored to you and your business using ChatGPT for help. Then week 3 and 4, work on that wow packet. Put it on your website too. Put together a little folder. This goes a long way, especially on those bigger projects. Clients like that want something in hand showing what you do, before and afters, testimonials. And then you also work on your CRM templates. These are essentially to make your life easier. You have email templates ready for sending things about your process, your business, specific to like kitchens or bathrooms, whatever. And then week 5 and 6, you're ready, you're launched. And then from there, you just got to refine your process as you go, train your other team members, and then of course, track your results. Then you could just optimize it, get better, improve, and then it's rinse and repeat, and you're going to be booked solid. This system compounds over time, every client, every project, every single referral. Remember, this isn't about becoming a slick salesperson. You are essentially in sales because you're working for yourself. You have to close the deal to get the job. Ultimately, it's about, like I said before, becoming a trusted professional advisor who guides clients through one of the biggest stressful investments of their life, especially the big home remodels. They got dust, they got kids, dogs. It's crazy. For them to be able to trust you and see you as a guide and advisor goes a super long way. Remember, when you sell with systems, you gain freedom. That's what it's all about. Financial, professional, and personal freedom, freeing up your time to do more of what you love, to build, and to be able to have, a life on the other side of it. So the next time you meet a prospect, remember, don't chase the job, lead the process, guide them, and close the sale without being salesy. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you watching this video and taking the time to better yourself and to become a better contractor, to grow and to scale your construction business. Of course, subscribe for more content that helps you become a better contractor and win more jobs.